Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Do you remember that movie that came out about a year ago, right when we were diving into the pandemic, called Tiger King? Tiger King, remember? I don't know if you remember, but Carol Baskin, who's my favorite villain, she talks about this book. This book's way older than Carol. I don't know, it's pretty old. This book's way older than Carol Baskin, and this is part of the New Thought movement that came out in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So we're going chapter by chapter on this book. It is a classic. I know a lot of people are having some money issues right now, so today we're doing chapter 3. If you missed chapter 1 and 2, just head back down, check those out, watch them straight through, whatever you want to do. And grab a pen and paper so you can take some notes, because you're going to have some ideas that come up, and I know they're going to help you no matter what you're trying to do. This is basically to get your head thinking right so that money can start flowing toward you. So if you haven't already, hit like, share, subscribe. Utterances of discontent will be met with love and humor, as always, while you listen to me stumble, ramble, and fumble through reading this book to you chapter by chapter. And also, don't forget to head over. I'm going to have a link below to my store at Moma Delia on Etsy. And we do everything manifesting, magic, and a little bit of makeup too. So, and this is my beautiful, yes, this literally is, this is another manifesting thing. This is the I Ching balancing card. And this was a gift from one of my business partners who is a love. And yeah, do I use it as a bookmark? I do. So, okay, let's get started here. And like I said, I will probably stumble through this and screw up at least once or twice. So it's not just you. If you ever had to read out loud, I do it too. We all do it, but we'll get through this together. Okay, so chapter 3 is opportunity monopolized. No man is kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from him, because other people have monopolized the wealth and have put a fence around it. You may be shut off from engaging in business in certain lines, but there are other channels open to you. Probably it would be hard for you to get control of any great railroad system. That field is pretty well monopolized. But the electric railway business is still in its infancy. Now remember, I think this book was written in 1910, something like that. Let's see. Let's go back. It was 1910. So just go with me here. You know, they talk a lot about man also. They mean men and women. Okay, so the electric railway business is still in its infancy and offers plenty of scope for enterprise. Well, it's kind of like, what's his face in the electric cars? Oh my God, Elon Musk. But it will be a very few years until traffic and transportation through the air will become a great industry, and in all its branches will give employment to hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of people. Now, this was written in 1910, so he was pretty right on. Why not turn your attention to the development of aerial transportation instead of competing with J.J. Hill and others for the chance in the steam railway world? So what he's talking about there is like, don't bemoan the fact and be like, oh, well, somebody already thought of it, or they already developed that app. You know, look where the next, part is, and get in at the ground floor. I have a financial consulting company, and my partner has told me many, many, many times. I don't know if this is Charlie Munger or if it's Ray Dalio, but one of them says there's 3 times to get in on an investment: before it takes off, while it's taking off, or after it has already taken off. And the last 2 are too late. So think about that. You want to get in before. Okay. Even when it's going up, I talk to people all the time when their stock is like going up and they like on that upswing, let's say it makes a curve like this and they're going up here. That's too late. You want to get in down here, because by the time you're here, you're not making that much. Okay. So it is quite true that if you are a workman in the employ of a steel trust, you have very little chance of becoming the owner of the plant in which you work. But it is also true that if you commence to act in a certain way, you can soon leave the employ of the steel trust. You can buy a farm of from 10 to 40 acres and engage in a business of a producer of foodstuffs. There is great opportunity at this time for men who will live upon small tracts of land and cultivate the same intensively. Such men will certainly get rich. Okay. Farming, don't forget this is 100 years ago, but don't forget, I don't know if you know this, but Bill Gates just invested in, he is the largest private farm owner, I believe, in the world. So he has bought up all the farms in the United States. So again, this book was written 110 years ago. So You may say that it's impossible for you to get land, but I'm going to prove to you that it is not impossible, and that you can certainly get a farm if you will go to work in a certain way. At different periods, the tide of opportunity sets in different directions according to the needs of the whole and the particular stage of social evolution which has been reached. At present in America, it is setting towards agriculture and the allied industries and professions. Today, opportunity is open before the factory worker is in his line. It is open before the businessman who supplies the farmer more than before the one who supplies the factory worker, and before the professional man who waits upon the farmer more than before the one who serves the working class. There is abundance of opportunity for the man who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. So that whole chapter about factory and farming and all that stuff is probably out of date because it was 110 years ago. It's now going more like digital. It's going more like crypto. Everything's going online. But that line is important. So there is abundance of opportunity for the man who will go with the tide instead of against it. Stop trying to make things the way they used to be. Trust me, I like things the way they used to be too. But gotta go with what's happening now. So the factory workers, either as individuals or a class, are not derived of opportunity. The workers are not being kept down by their masters. They are not being ground by the trusts or the combinations of capital. As a class, they are where they are because they do not do things in a certain way. Through this whole book, he talks about the certain way, and he explains what that is. As the workers of America choose to do so, they could follow the example of their brothers in Belgium and other countries and establish great department stores and cooperative industries. They could elect men of their own class to office and pass laws favoring the development of such cooperative industries. And in a few years, they could take peaceable possession of the industrial field. And kind of funny, that is what happened, The department store thing cracks me up, because it came 10, 20 years after this book was written. The working class may become the master class whenever they will begin to do things in a certain way. The law of wealth is the same for them as it is for all others. This they must learn, and they will remain where they are as long as they continue to do as they do. The individual worker, however, is not held down by the ignorance or mental slothfulness of his class. He can follow the tide of opportunity to riches, and this book will tell him how. No one is kept in poverty by a shortness in the supply of riches. There is more than enough for all. A palace as large as the Capitol at Washington might be built for every family on earth from the building material in the United States alone. It is and under intensive cultivation. This country would produce wool, cotton, linen, and silk enough to clothe each person in the world finer than Solomon was arrayed in all his glory, together with food enough to feed them all luxuriously. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the visible supply really is inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made of one original substance, out of which all things proceed. New forms are constantly being made, and the older ones are dissolving, but all the shapes are assumed by one thing. There is no limit to the supply of formless stuff or original substance. The universe is made out of it, but it was not all used in making the universe. The spaces in, through, and between the forms of the visible universe are permeated and filled with the original substance, with the formless stuff, with the raw material of all things. I gotta stop here. Anybody who's a student of physics, I am a student of physics. Yeah, this actually got proven that when you wave your hand around and you think, oh, I'm waving it into nothing. No, there's something called Archimedean solids. So there's actually stuff in between what we think is nothingness or air. So kind of funny. Kind of funny that got solved, I think 70 years after this book was written. Well, it got proved very recently, actually. Let's see. Okay. 10,000 times as much as has been made might still be made. And even then, we should not have exhausted the supply of a universal raw material. No man, therefore, is poor because nature is poor, or because there is not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. original substance is alive with creative energy and is constantly producing more forms. When the supply of building material is exhausted, more will be produced. When the soil is exhausted so that foodstuffs and material for clothing will no longer grow upon it, it will be renewed or more soil will be made. When all the gold and silver has been dug from the earth, if man is still in such an age of social development that he needs gold and silver, more will be produced from the formless. The formless stuff responds to the needs of man and will not let him be without any good thing. So this comes in with manifesting, especially on people be like, no, there's no way, there's no money, there's no any, and they're just saying no, 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 no. And they don't understand how their needs could be, it can just materialize out of nowhere. And I have had so many people I've worked on manifesting with where we talk about it, we go over the how, the why, the who. And just so you know, my manifesting coaching is available down below. So you just click on that link. But once you realize, yeah, this is true, that there is like this inexhaustible energy out there that wants to materialize in this world and give you what you want. I've had people be like, there's absolutely no money, there's nothing, I can't help, there's, this, that, and the other. And they'll call me and say, let's say, I had somebody who had, the car was going to get repossessed. Like it was happening. It was not going to get pushed back, nothing. And for whatever reason, they knew the repossessed person was coming because they were kind of stalking the house and they were kind of, leaving notes. And for whatever reason, the next day, and they had no money. There was nothing. Couldn't make it, couldn't loan it, couldn't nothing. The next day, they checked their credit card balance and they had an extra $1,000 credit. So they called the credit card company and for whatever reason, and not necessarily had been the best payer of their credit card, the credit card company gave them an extra $1,000 worth of credit. So with that, they were able to stave off the car getting repossessed. They paid all the back, car payments and were current, up to date. And it started them on a much better path and they were able to catch up on a lot of other bills. So yeah, this is true. It can literally, stuff can develop out of nothingness. Okay. It really, really can. Because we're all living, I say this to everybody, we're living in a computer simulation. This is all fake. So might as well have the best computer game you can. And you get to write it. So this is true, back to the book, this is true of man collectively. And the race as a whole is always abundantly rich. If the individuals are poor, it's because they choose to not follow the certain way of doing things which makes the individual rich. The formless stuff is intelligent. It is stuff which thinks. It is alive. And it is always impelled toward more life. People. That's why I say don't give up. If you're stuck, if you're like, oh, this is not going to work, I'm screwed, take another step forward. Because if you keep making right steps toward life, it says, is impelled toward more life. If you have the next thing to do, you keep trying. The formless stuff is what this book calls it. I just call it the universe, will come to your aid, I promise you. It is the natural and inherent impulse of life to seek to live more. It is the nature of intelligence to enlarge itself and of consciousness to seek to extend its boundaries and to find fuller expression. The universe of forms has been made by the formless living substance, throwing itself into form in order to express itself more fully. So, okay, that's kind of a weird paragraph, but how I break it down and how my physics mind breaks it down is this formless stuff, this mana, this universal energy, Archimedean solids, whatever you want to call it. We're living in a three-dimensional world. So our neurons, okay, our senses, our five senses, can only decode third-dimensional information, okay? But this is more fifth dimensional. This is like way past what we can decode. So the energy has to come into a form that we can recognize. So that would be money, or that would be help, or that would be a person, or that, stuff like that. So that's pretty much what that sentence means. The universe is a great living presence, always moving inherently toward more life and fuller functioning. Nature is formed for the advancement of life. Its impelling motive is the increase of life. For this cause, Everything which can possibly minister to life is bountifully provided. There can be no lack unless God is to contradict himself and nullify his own works. You are not kept poor by lack in supply of riches. It is, in fact, which I shall demonstrate a little further on, that even the resources of the formless supply are at the command of the man or woman who will act and think in a certain way. It's true. It's true. You want to hang on for chapter 4? We're going to do chapter 4 tomorrow. Maybe later today. Who knows? We're going to do chapter 4. So if you haven't read chapter 3 yet, go back to chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 3. So let's ask the question, is opportunity monopolized? According to this author, no. But why don't you leave a comment below and tell me what you think, and tell me if any of this manifestation stuff works for you. And thanks for hanging in for Manifestation Mondays. I'm gonna put my bookmark in here for chapter 4, and we'll hit that up tomorrow. I hope you guys are having a great day. I know I'm stuck here in the snow right now. We have a little snow apocalypse here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And yeah, well, maybe we can manifest our way out of it. Who knows? Have a great day, guys. Thanks so much.